What's interesting about poker, it's the only game among big gambling verticals that is skill-based. In poker, it's essential to have skills to win. People are excited about poker because it offers them learning curve.
You're listening to 15-Minute Mastery, a show that empowers you with insights from leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask and supported by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, Lala Stars, the leading casino partnership program, and Next.io, the world's iGaming community. Hey guys, everyone, and please welcome to 15-Minute Mastery. In today's episode, we got Dmitry Starostenkov, who is the CEO at EvenBet Gaming, which is the leading poker platform provider. Hey Dima, how's it going?
Hi Dima, it's going fine. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great day to talk about industry.
As many know, you're one of the world's leading experts in online poker, and it's been one of the biggest passions in my life. And this is what led me into the world of online gambling many years back. And for many, right now, online poker is a bit of a sacred industry. You know, something which has been on a paragon of online gambling pyramid many years back now seem to be declining, right? And there is a common saying that the online poker is declining. So what are your thoughts on this perception? And is there any evidence of, support or to refuse that claim?
Sometimes people live inside bubbles, so they see what's happening only around them, and they can't see what happens like across the ocean or like even in the neighbor country. What I'm saying is that it really depends on specific region and market. So let's say Europe, okay, yeah, it's saturated market. There's no growth for poker for sure, but at the same time, for example, we jump to the US, it's the motherland of poker from one side, but still it's just opening now for regulation and licensing, and definitely it will experience growth in the US along the regulation coming and so forth. Then we go to Latin America. Still players there are very amateur for poker. They are just playing Texas Hold'em. They are just learning how to play Omaha and Omaha 5-card games and all other variations. And it's still for them like it's a new game. The same happens in Asia. So growing markets, many more players, India and so forth. Africa, absolutely untouched territory. So there is no poker because, it's emerging market. So really it depends on specific time and market situation. What's interesting about poker, it's the only game among big gambling verticals like sports betting and casino that is skill-based. All other verticals, in sports betting, there are some skills required, but in poker, it's essential to play, to have skills to win, right? And it creates, it's kind of virtue of poker and also at the same time stigma of poker. It's a learning curve. People are excited about poker because it offers them learning curve. They start as a novice, they make first steps, they got some challenge to understand how they can win, they go learn some more, try to play, to use these techniques and so forth. So they grow up. This creates additional excitement for poker. But at the same time, when this learning curve has some final point, so when players reach this final point for some reason, and when they are stuck at some level, people who consider poker as a challenge, they get bored and they leave poker because they are not more interested. There's no growth for them. But please don't forget about casual players. There are still some casual players in this game. Let's see to CIS market. As I heard from operators, from biggest operators in this market, there's no change for the last 10 years in this market. Like, it's not decline. It's like almost on the same level. So there's enough amount of players who play this game casually. So like, I say it is kind of not. It's not. There's no simple answer to this question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You actually touched two very interesting topics I want us to dig a little bit deeper. So the first one you mentioned, the size of the industry and the dynamics of online poker industry is really tied to the market maturity and the market situation. Yeah. So you mentioned like Latin America is one situation, Europe is the other one. And I think it's similar to the online sports betting and online casino. So what you think are like the top markets for online poker right now? If you can mention maybe like 3 to 5 countries or something, and why you think these markets are particularly strong for online poker?
So if we talk about existing markets, still Europe, CIS countries are very strong poker markets, and maybe there is some kind of decline or plateau at these markets, but still they are making money, and like still people play poker. If we talk about strong emerging markets or promising markets, number one for me it's United States, because there are so many poker players. It's kind of it's a game integrated into their culture, and people love to play poker.
It's actually great to hear that it's still an emerging market.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like countries that like invented poker itself, like still an emerging market for this game. It's just because of the regulations happened in the past, So very promising markets, regulated markets, plus sweepstakes models opening there now, so and so forth. So for online, I think it's an emerging market with great potential. Then Brazil, KSOP now like the second biggest series in the world for poker after WSOP. Plus they also have big one BSOP series in Brazil, and every new event they have break records. They're beating the previous with about number of players, guarantees, and so forth. So they are growing. And India, very promising market. I would say like penetration of poker there, it's very low, but 1.5 billion people. So there is some big potential to grow. I would say these like regions plus Asia, the whole Asia, like Southeast Asia, and maybe in the future, in 10 years, it would be Africa.
Another thing which you mentioned in your first kind of answer was the user behavior, and I think this is very important here because the iGaming industry is like traditionally online sports betting, online casino, and a lot of like user behavioral patterns are mostly tied to these two when you think about online gambling and product design and UX and whatsoever. But there is one really strong behavioral loop where the players, they start playing online poker and then they migrate to other niches, and obviously there is a big intersection between the sports betting and online gambling. So what do you think is like the usual percentage of the poker players transitioning from like online poker to sports betting on an online casino, and what kind of factors could contribute to that migration?
The point is, I would say it's between 25 and 50% conversion rate. Poker should be considered as an acquisition tool for other verticals, for sports betting and casino. So poker can facilitate to acquire players, and then operators can cross-sell to other verticals in order to increase ARPU from players and LTV. So like it's kind of normal way of thinking to consider poker as an acquisition tool and casino games as a retention tool, as a cash cow, money generator. And number two is like it really depends on operator how they do this cross-selling, how they offer casino games and sport betting bets into poker, how they integrate these offers into gameplay of poker, how they, for instance, GG, they have these interesting games when players can win additional multiplier by making bets on outcomes of European Championship matches and so forth. So like you can start from 25% and easily increase up to 50% by making it more proactively, naturally, like not only sending them emails with free bets and free spins, but giving some kind of incentives. For example, play these free rolls or tournaments and get free spins as a reward and so forth. So like, and I know many operators, they exploit this model when they acquire by poker, and then they migrate cross-sell players to casino games. And kind of one interesting thing about India, like in open international market, as I mentioned, poker is acquisition tool and casino games are a money generator. In India, since gambling casino games are prohibited, I mean, like an official market, poker acts as a money generator. So typically in Indian markets, operators, they acquire by casual games, by daily fantasy sports and other games, and then they cross-sell players to poker or rummy to increase LTV and RPU. Nice. So it depends on market situation.
Nice. I think it's really insightful. And one question here, do you think when player goes to online casino and the sports betting, it actually cannibalizes his revenue in online poker, or it just adds on top of his user value in online poker from your experience?
From my experience, if it's organized in a proper way, it works as a synergy. So operators can give additional bonuses and money to players through free rolls, tournaments, jackpots in poker, and then for 80-90% of the cases, players spend this money in casino games and sports betting. So there is no cannibalization, in my opinion. Really, if it's organized in the right way as an ecosystem, they work they work together in synergy. They are complementary to each other.
I think this is a really good insight for many operators who doesn't have online poker integrated in their existing platforms, that it's not only the acquisition tool, but at the same time it's a really nice way on how to increase the revenue per user, because I think, our industry is very focused on acquiring users, but at the same time, not making sure that they retained well enough, not making sure that they extract more value out of the user and the platform as they could. So I think online poker, as you mentioned, could be the bridge between the retention and the increased average revenue per user. So I think this is a really cool insight, and this is very helpful. So I think one last question from my end here is like the size of the industry so far. So you mentioned that, there are some markets where the industry is really growing. It's really cool. As the fan of poker, I'm this is music to my ears when I hear such a things. But, if you can compare like the size of like online poker with the size of, the sports betting or online gambling, what will be the size difference between these two?
In revenue size terms, I think poker is just 5% of total market. And it's clear when you read reports of multi-vertical operators, and you see how much they generate by poker. But it really depends again on market. In India, since sports betting and online gambling on casino games is prohibited, poker generates about 100% of revenue because it's the only right now game plus Rummy, but Rummy is like kind of similar stuff that allows operators to generate money from real money operation. But let's say I anticipate that in the US again the distribution between poker, sports betting, and casino will be different. So poker will take bigger parts of the industry than in other markets right now. Let's say some newly open markets like in Southeast Asia, when you first introduce poker there, for the first few years they tend to demonstrate that in poker they can generate much higher numbers, like even 20-30% of the market, maybe 50% of the market. But then, since eventually casino games are much more massive in terms of how much money players generate per hour playing casino games, eventually it goes down as long as casino games become to be more popular there.
This conversation has been a pure gem from the value perspective, because you shared so many real cool insights about the industry, about the markets, about the cross-sell techniques. I think a lot of people, especially operators, will find it useful. So thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you for the great conversation, and see you.